really simple question. What actually is graphic design? Now, if you're like most people, your mind probably jumps straight to, making things look pretty, picking a trendy font, finding a color palette that really pops. But honestly, treating design as just decoration, it's kind of like calling a skyscraper just a really tall window. It completely misses the profound structural reality and the actual purpose of the field.
To understand what's really going on here, we're dissecting this highly comprehensive map today. Notice how it's structured almost like a botanical diagram, right? Like a flower or maybe a tree of knowledge. We've got these grounded roots at the very bottom, a strong central seed or core right in the middle, and then this massive wheel of blooming petals radiating outward all around it. By the end of this explainer, we're going to break down every single part of this ecosystem so you can see exactly how the whole shebang connects.
So the crucial point is right here at the very center. Notice that it isn't just labeled as art. It's explicitly defined, right beneath it in brackets, as visual communication. It's about conveying a message, solving a specific problem, or organizing information using visual tools. Every single discipline we're about to explore on the outer wheel is really just a different, specialized flavor of this one central seed, communicating visually to an audience.
But, before any communication can actually bloom, it needs nourishment, it needs grounding. Let's cast our eyes down to the two bottom leaves or roots of our diagram. Over on the left, we have visual elements, and on the right, design principles. You can think of this as the soil of our ecosystem. Visual elements are the raw materials, so the lines, shapes, colors, forms, and textures. And then design principles, those are the structural rules of physics for how you combine those materials effectively. It's kind of like gravity for visuals. You simply cannot have any of the complex disciplines up above without these foundational structural supports anchoring the whole thing down.
All right, now let's travel up the stem to the 11 disciplines of the outer wheel. Let's see exactly how visual communication branches out into the real commercial world.
Let's start spinning this wheel right at the top. Here we have our first three branches: creative strategy, packaging design, and logo identity design. So creative strategy dictates the overarching visual plan. It's the deep why behind the look and feel of a brand. Then you've got packaging design, which is that tactile manifestation sitting on a crowded store shelf, literally fighting for your attention. And right next to that is logo identity design. This is the incredible art of distilling an entire company's essence into a single, memorable, microscopic mark. Think of something iconic, like the Nike swoosh. Let's move along to the next section and see how this builds, expanding the brand identity. Coming down the right side of our visual wheel, the core of visual communication extends into overarching branding, graphic illustration, and design marketing. Branding takes that single logo we just talked about and builds an entire, cohesive universe around it. It establishes the tone of voice and ensures consistent color palettes across all media. Then, graphic illustration brings a distinct, often handcrafted artistic flair to clarify complex concepts or just tell a much richer story. And design marketing? Well, that's where visual communication is engineered to drive action, create persuasive campaigns, and actually generate tangible business results.
Next up, we transition down to the bottom of the wheel, formatting information.
Right at the base of the wheel, grounding the bottom half, we find type design and publication design. Type design is incredibly specialized. Every single curve of an S or the exact mathematical angle of a crossbar is painstakingly engineered for legibility. And right next to it is publication design. This is where visual communication applies directly to massive amounts of text, carefully guiding the reader's eye through a clear hierarchy so they don't just get completely lost in a sea of data.
Now, leaving the static printed page behind, we enter interactive and moving mediums. And this brilliantly illustrates how the field is just constantly evolving with technology. Over here, we see web, UI, and UX design. That's visual communication you actively touch, click, swipe, and navigate on your screens every day. Moving up, motion graphics applies these design principles to time and movement. It breathes life into static elements for video, television, and film. And finally, surface design completes our wheel. This is all about wrapping patterns, colors, and graphics onto physical, everyday objects, textiles, and constructed environments.
All right, let's bring the full graphic back up. When we first looked at this at the beginning of the explainer, it probably seemed like an overwhelming collection of circles and text, right? But looking at it now, it's absolutely amazing how clearly you can see the foundational roots feeding directly up into that core mission of visual communication. and then blossoming outward into these 11 highly specialized, yet deeply connected disciplines.
Which brings us to the end of our breakdown, and leaves me with one final question for you to ponder. Which part of this visual communication wheel do you interact with most in your daily lives? Are you constantly scrolling through UI/UX design on your smartphone? Are you immediately drawn to the packaging design while walking down the aisle at the grocery store? Or maybe you're immersed in publication design while relaxing with a really good book. The next time you step outside, or even just look at a screen, I challenge you to spot these distinct disciplines at work. They're literally everywhere, and they're constantly communicating with you. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep your eyes open.